Good evening. 3 weeks ago, the sports world lost two of the all time greats. 3 weeks ago, we said goodbye to the greatest champion in all of team sports, Bill Russell, as well as Vince Scully, one of the greatest broadcasters and announcers of all time. Tonight, we mourn the loss of another legend, not just as a football player, but also as a broadcaster in his own right. Tonight, as part of this regular season finale of TXN Sports World, we celebrate the life of Len Dawson, who passed away yesterday at the age of 87. Hello, friends, and welcome to the regular season finale of TXN Sports World. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher and Michael Bullock. We apologize for the late start. MF was a little late coming in. He needed to get settled, but no worries. So we're all here, and we're ready to go. A very big show, and you see the graphic right there. Len Dawson passing away yesterday at the age of 87. We'll get that back up in just a moment, but before I do, let's run it down. Len Dawson, who led the Kansas City Chiefs to victory in Super Bowl IV and was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame as both a player and broadcaster, died at the age of 87, according to his family. Dawson, who had entered hospice care in Kansas City on August 12th, worked for the Chiefs for nearly a half century, 14 years as a quarterback and 33 as a broadcast analyst. Chiefs chairman Clark Hunt said he was heartbroken about Dawson's death. Len Dawson is synonymous with the Kansas City Chiefs. Len embraced and came to embody Kansas City and the people that call it home. You would be hard-pressed to find a player who had a bigger impact in shaping the organization as we know it today than Len Dawson did, Hunt shared in a statement. I admired Len my entire life, first as a Hall of Fame player on the field, and later as he transitioned into a successful broadcasting career. Throughout his remarkable career, Len made it a priority to give back to the community that he loved. The franchise has lost a true legend. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Linda and his family. Dawson spent the first 5 years of his 19-season professional career as a sparingly used backup for the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cleveland Browns, but his career took off after he signed in 1962 to play for the AFL's Dallas Texans, soon to be the Kansas City Chiefs, to play under Coach Hank Stram, who had been an assistant at Purdue during Dawson's stellar collegiate career. The man Stram once called the most accurate passer in pro football immediately showed he was worthy of being a team's number one quarterback, leading the AFL in completion percentage, 61, and earning 1962 Player of the Year honors while carrying the Texans to the league title. After moving to Kansas City, the next success continued for Dawson, who was a 7-time All-Star Pro Bowler and twice was a first-team All-Pro. In 1966, he took the Chiefs to another AFL title, which for the first time meant a trip to what would come to be known as the Super Bowl. Dawson played well, 16 of 27 for 211 yards, but the Chiefs were overmatched by Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers in a 35-10 loss. The Chiefs were back 3 seasons later to face the Minnesota Vikings in Super Bowl IV. Despite Joe Namath and the New York Jets upsetting the Baltimore Colts the previous year, the NFL was still seen as superior, and the Vikings came in as a double-digit favorite. But the Kansas City defense dominated, and Dawson played a typically strong game, 12 of 17, 142 yards, while being named game MVP, including throwing a 46-yard touchdown pass to Otis Taylor in the third quarter that sealed the 23-7 victory. Dawson was selected as the second-team quarterback behind Namath on the AFL's all-time team in 1970. He was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a player in 1987 and as a broadcaster in 2012, following a TV and radio career that began as a sports anchor on Kansas City TV in 1966, while he was still playing for the Chiefs, oftentimes going to KMBC after practice to broadcast that night's sports report. Dawson went on to become an analyst for games on NBC, as well as a longtime host of HBO's Inside the NFL. After a series of health issues that included...
How am I supposed to live with someone who can't
I
even
apologize
set a
for
lineup?
this.
She's made 6 different leagues.
press anymore. All right, here we go. After a series of health issues that included prostate cancer and quadruple heart bypass surgery, Dawson retired from broadcasting in 2017 following 33 years as the Chiefs' radio color analyst. Dawson remained a beloved figure in Kansas City, even though he cut back on public appearances several years ago when his health began to fail him. But he always had time for fans, whether it be a photograph or signature, the latter often on an iconic black and white photo from halftime of that first Super Bowl. The exhausted quarterback, white uniform caked with mud, sitting on a folding chair with a cigarette in his mouth and a bottle of Fresca at his feet. It perfectly captured the time and place, and it perfectly captured a man who embodied poise and self-assurance. He was born the ninth of 11 children, who filled the house of James and Andy Dawson in the blue-collar manufacturing town of Alliance, Ohio. Shout out to Dee Dee Woodson. He was a three-sport athlete at Alliance High School, setting records in football and baseball, and turned his success on the gridiron into a scholarship offer from Purdue. And while he was there, he led the NCAA in passing efficiency as a sophomore, while also playing defense and kicking, and he helped lead a memorable upset of Notre Dame during the 1954 season. By the end of his college career, he had thrown for more than 3,000 yards despite playing in an era that favored ground and pound football and was chosen by the Steelers in the first round of the 1957 draft. He ultimately found success with the Chiefs, and when he hung up his helmet after the 1975 season, Dawson retired with 28,711 career passing yards and 239 touchdowns. All but 204 yards and 2 touchdowns came with the Chiefs franchise. And many of Dawson's franchise records stood until current Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes began breaking them. The two became fast friends, and Dawson was overjoyed when Mahomes led the Chiefs to their second Super Bowl title with a come-from-behind victory over the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 54. And Dawson was married to his high school sweetheart Jackie from 1954 until her death in 1978, and together they had 2 children. His second wife, Linda, remained by his side when Dawson entered hospice care. So everything you ever wanted to know about Len Dawson, I just pretty much told you right there. And I'll be honest. I know I speak on behalf of all 3 of us when I say that none of us were around when he was playing. That was more of our parents and our grandparents, our aunts and uncles and all that. But what we do remember him, and what I certainly best remember him as, I didn't even know he was a player. When I first started watching football, when I was around 10, 11 years old, I best remembered him as being the host of, when it was on HBO, that is, Inside the NFL, along with the great Chris Collinsworth and one of MF's great Dolphins, Nick Bonacani. I mean, the 3 of them were so fun to watch, and you know, it's never easy when we have to start a show like this. We don't know the exact cause of his death, but it was 2 weeks ago. He had entered hospice care at the University of Kansas Medical Center, and then he died yesterday at the age of 87. But regardless, he most assuredly had an impact on the Chiefs organization, and you clearly know about Patrick Mahomes and the impact he had on him and Clark Hunt and the rest of the Hunt family and everybody as part of the Chiefs organization. And even though I'm still bitter about how that team ended my team's season back in January, I'm putting that aside for a night, and I'm going to take this moment to, lift up the Kansas City Chiefs organization, Len Dawson's family, his friends, and all of the wonderful teammates that he had in his career. I lift all of you up in prayer. We lift all of you up in prayer, and we send our most heartfelt thoughts, prayers, and condolences to all of those folks I just mentioned. And we lost a good one. That's all there is to it. We lost another good one coming a few weeks after the deaths of Bill Russell and Vince Scully. Now we lose this legend. And like I said, I don't remember. I never watched him play because none of us were around. But I will forever always remember him as the host and the moderator of Inside the NFL when it was on HBO. Him, Collinsworth, Bonacani, like I said, they were fun to watch, and it was a fun show to watch. I enjoyed watching that show on HBO. I watched it several times. I didn't just watch the when the episode was first run. I used to watch the encores too because that's how much I loved the show. And this man was so good at what he did. I mean, he has, he's just like me, as with me as the host of this show. In a way you could say I'm the Len Dawson and MF's the Nick Bonacani and Michael Bullock's the Chris Collinsworth. I mean, I feel like him in a way, and in a way this hits close to home for me because this was the guy who who was the air traffic controller, if you will, of Inside the NFL, and he was so damn good at it, man. It's close to home for all of us, me especially, but it's especially close to home for anybody who's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And we have three very dear friends in our circle. First and foremost, Dee Dee and Kevin Woodson, and the Woodson family, and of course, a longtime dear friend of ours from our school days, Rob Parsons, because they're diehard Kansas City Chiefs fans. And tonight, while the Kansas City Chiefs they had a preseason game at home at Arrowhead against the Green Bay Packers. The very first play of the game, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offensive starters at the time, they paid tribute to Len Dawson because Len Dawson used to have what was known as the choir huddle. And they stood like a gospel choir, and a very nice tribute. And I'm sure there'll be plenty more tributes coming, especially that first regular season home game, which will be the regular season debut of Amazon Prime Video's Thursday Night Football when the Chiefs host the LA Chargers. And that's a game that MF and I could end up very easily doing come week 2. But we'll get into that in a few weeks. But for right now, on behalf of all of us here at TXN Sports World, our thoughts, prayers, and condolences to the family, friends, former teammates, on and off the field, of Len Dawson. And rest in peace and Godspeed, sir. And thank you for all you've done for the game and what you continue to do for the game even after you hung it up. And also what you did for broadcasting and making Inside the NFL so fun to watch on HBO. And as I always like to do, to Len Dawson, simply, and I know these guys echo my sentiments when I always say, thank you for the memories, thank you for the inspiration, and thank you for Len Dawson. You will be missed, sir. So not much more to say. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. Never easy when we have to start a show like this, especially a show of this magnitude, our regular season finale. But nonetheless, here we are, Len Dawson. Like I said, we weren't around. We were not born yet to watch him play. That was more of our parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, what have you. But what I best remember him, and maybe what you guys best remember him, is when he was the host of Inside the NFL, and he was so damn good at it.
Yeah, he knew exactly how to moderate it. And the thing was, the knowledge that these men have was insurmountable, especially Nick Bonacani and Len Dawson. I mean, these guys can talk about, and I really think the way he handled it was so unique and amazing because of the fact that, he the way that he was always able to set up games or talk about certain games that were coming up and gave his expertise about how he felt a game was going to go. Because there was not only just that, but there was also predictions. That's where we started. So especially the analysis, the breaking downs of games, what they saw or what they feel could happen in a game, and just the overall prediction of what team is going to win that particular game is almost in a nutshell what we normally do every Thursday and Saturday during football season. In a sense of it, we are kind of like an inside the NFL. We go a little more deeper because the only problem is we don't have game highlights. We're not allowed to have game highlights. We can't show any game highlights on this channel for the fear of the copyright. Where they have the treasure trove of NFL films to work with, which is anybody who knows NFL films and anybody who knows the greatness of NFL films to get that catalog or that the archive itself with some of the greatest moments in football history. Are you kidding me? And he was a part of it as a maestro with the guys, and it was perfect. It was like poetry in motion. So yeah, uh, we do remember watching them on HBO, and it was groundbreaking at the time because remember the NFL was still relatively popular, but the thing was it never really got into cable until they got into HBO with the Inside the NFL. And I believe it was always every Wednesday night prior to the season was the first episode. And they always used to give us the week that was and the look ahead to the next week. And the way that they were able to shift it in those two realms was a thing of beauty. And Len Dawson was an amazing guy. His knowledge of the game was expertise and amazing. It's a darn shame we never got to see him play, but we do see the highlights. We do see some of the memories. And there's even guys who are Chief fans who has told us how great he was. So we take him at his word. So, yes, without a doubt, it was a tragic loss. No doubt about that. And my heart goes out to the Chiefs fans out there, to the Chiefs kingdom. And my thoughts and prayers are with them. And yeah, Godspeed and good luck. So there's really nothing more to add. So Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I like we all never got a chance to see him play, but I did like see a lot of the highlights via NFL films, and I mean, he was definitely one of the all-time greats, and why the Chiefs were successful. And then just to hear him on the radio broadcast, I mean, he has a complete knowledge of the game, and yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a sad day for the NFL. I mean, for to lose such a special man like Len Dawson. I mean, it's tough, and that it's going to be interesting to see that when they open up the home season, how they're going to pay tribute to him. I know they did an example like tonight during the preseason game, but I can't imagine what it'll be like come the first regular season home game. So, yeah, my thoughts, prayers, and condolences go out to all his friends and family that knew this very special man. So, there's really nothing more to add to it. So, it's yours, Florio.
All right. Never easy to start a show like that, especially a show of this magnitude. But it is what it is. So with that being said, good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in front and center for the final time this season. Your final Big Three basketball report. MF is gonna let us know what happened with the the inaugural Big Three basketball All Star game, and then from there, MF, you're gonna let us know who became the 2022 Big Three champions, and in doing so became emblematic of it by hoisting the beautiful Dr. J Julius Erving Championship Trophy.
All right, yeah, yes indeed. The finals did go down, guys. The big three had their All Star extravagant. Well, first we started off with the All Star game. It was held from the State Farm. The both games were held at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, GA. And guys, here we go. So we started it off. Let's see if we can get it. All right. So we started it off with the All Star game. It was Team Doc versus Team Ice. And when it was all said and done, Team Doc, Dr. J, Julius Irving gets the win over the Iceman, George Gervin's team. The final score was 50-44, and it was Deshaun Stevenson named the most valuable player of the All-Star game with 15 points and 8 rebounds. Duzon Blunt had a very good game himself, had 11 points with 6 rebounds and 4 assists. Mario Chalmers had 11 points with two rebounds and 2 assists in the win. Kevin Murphy was the high man for Team Ice with 11 points and 5 rebounds in the All-Star game. Now, it led us to the main event of the evening, the championship game of the Big Three. And when it was all said and done, ladies and gentlemen, the winners and still the Big Three champions, back-to-back, 3 out of 5 years, because remember, there was a year where COVID hit and the season never happened, but it's 3 and 5 for Trilogy. They win the Big Three. The final score was 51-35, and it was a dominating performance, to say the very least. Earl Clark had 22 points with 8 rebounds and 1 assist. Isaiah Briscoe had 21 points with 6 rebounds. And Amir Johnson had only 8 points, but 10 big rebounds in the championship win. The high man for Power was Glenn Rice. He had a double-double, 23 points and 12 rebounds. But for Trilogy, they won the Big Three. It is their, like I said, their second title, back-to-back championships, their third overall. And we're talking about possibly a modern-day dynasty in the Big Three already. They had a lot of gripe, a lot of anger, and they let it known to the world that, first off, Steven Jackson should have been named the Coach of the Year. He did not. Reggie Theus was Coach of the Year. Then they talked about how Earl Clark should have been known as the MVP of the league. He was not. I believe that went to Kevin Murphy of the Three-Headed Monsters. I think he got named MVP of the league. So definitely a lot of gripe, a lot of anger coming out of Trilogy. They felt like they got robbed, but at the end of the day, yes, they were the best team. They won it. They're the champions again. And the added caveat, when you win the Big Three, your team remains intact. You do not lose any players. So, ladies and gentlemen, next season, Earl Clark, Isaiah Briscoe, Amir Johnson, James White, and David Hawkins will be part of Team Trilogy. Of course, you'll also have Steven Jackson as the head coach going in. They will not be torn apart. They will not have to break up. Their team will remain intact. Everybody else, they get thrown into the lottery. There'll be some new players coming in, and we're going to have a draft right before the summer begins, and we're going to be doing this all over again next year, hopefully. It's been an incredible season, 10 weeks of action. The homies were balling out for the whole damn summer, and that's what it's been since the very beginning. 5 years of the Big Three. I cannot wait for the Sinful Six, and it's going to be an incredible season. New players will be coming abound. Maybe some surprises coming, and without a doubt, I'll be back next season for another round of Big Three basketball when it comes. Now, I don't know. It's been a blessing. It's been great on CBS. Will they remain on CBS? Do they move to another network? I don't know. All questions will be asked soon enough, but I will say this. This has been an incredible season, and it's just one thing that I know you guys have been waiting for all summer. Well, I'm glad I can provide you with a lot of fun and some good stuff. So, nothing more to say. Anthony, it's back to you, my friend.
All right, MF. Great job as always on that, and I look forward to hearing more of that. We get to this to this part of the year next year as part of TXN Sports World, no doubt about that. All right, now it's time for the first half of our huge double main event, the preview of the college football season, and I can't think of a better place to start it off than the conference that currently houses the College Football Playoff National Championship Trophy, and that would be the Southeastern Conference, better known as the SEC. And I'm gonna throw in a couple of extra wrinkles here when it comes to this. I'll give you the backstory, the order of finish, the top storyline of the conference, and I'm even gonna give you, how about this? The 5 biggest games of the conference, as well as the stat that matters. So that's what we'll be doing for all the conferences. Of course, Notre Dame will be doing that on our own. But for right now, let's start it off with the SEC. Here we go, guys. An SEC school has won 5 of the 8 college football playoff championship games, and 2 of those teams didn't even win the SEC. Georgia pulled that off last year. The Bulldogs lost the SEC championship game against Alabama, but then broke a national title drought that extended back to 1980 in the college football playoff championship game. Alabama remains the defending SEC champion. The Crimson Tide have won 8 SEC championships under Nick Saban, including 6 in the college football playoff era. Alabama returns a loaded roster led by Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young and linebacker Will Anderson. Georgia and Texas A&M also are top 5 teams. And Arkansas, Ole Miss, Kentucky, and Tennessee are ranked. The conference also welcomes 2 new coaches in LSU's Brian Kelly, who made the surprise move from Notre Dame, and Florida's Billy Napier, an up-and-comer from Louisiana. Can anybody stop another Alabama-Georgia matchup in Atlanta come December? A closer look at the SEC, and here we go. In the SEC East, in no particular order, we have Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, South Carolina, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. In the SEC West, you have Alabama, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State, and Auburn. When it comes to the East, it's Georgia. The Bulldogs are 36-5 in conference play the last 5 seasons. This is a huge show of faith in Tennessee over Kentucky for second place, knowing the Vols haven't finished better than 5-3 in SEC play since 2007. And Florida is the X-Factor team that could finish much higher depending on how quickly Napier's system catches on. So I have Georgia winning the SEC East. I got Tennessee finishing 2nd, Kentucky finishing 3rd, Florida finishing 4th, South Carolina 5th, Missouri 6th, and Vanderbilt, as they've always been, in the basement. In the West, this matches the SEC preseason poll, but there's no reason to shake it up. The Crimson Tide have lost seven conference games in 8 seasons in the college football playoff era. Who else are you going to go with? Arkansas broke a 9-game losing streak to Texas A&M last season. Can they do it again? LSU is the X-Factor team with first-year coach Brian Kelly, and a last-place finish would not end well for Brian Harsin at Auburn. But nonetheless, I have Alabama winning the West with Texas A&M 2nd, Arkansas 3rd, Ole Miss 4th, LSU 5th, Mississippi State 6th, and Auburn 7th. The top storyline in the SEC, Nick Saban revenge games. Before last season, Saban had never lost to one of his former assistants. That changed last October when Texas A&M beat Alabama 41-38 at Kyle Field. And then Georgia beat the Crimson Tide 33-18 in the College Football Playoff Championship game, January 10th of this year. So Jimbo Fisher and Kirby Smart got Saban in the same season. Saban would have to wait at minimum for a shot at Smart in the SEC Championship game. LSU 2010 and 11 and Ole Miss 2014 and 15 are the only SEC teams to beat Alabama under Saban in consecutive seasons. The offseason back and forth between Saban and Fisher that erupted in May has added fire to that October 8th matchup at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Chances are Saban remembers Fisher calling him a narcissist, among other things. But what if Alabama doesn't get back to Atlanta or the CFP? It's a ridiculous standard knowing the Crimson Tide have played in the college football playoff title game 6 of the last 7 years, but it's one Alabama will be expected to meet given the amount of first-round NFL talent on the roster. Top 5 games to look for, of course, the game, Texas A&M and Alabama on October 8th. You heard Fisher's press conference. That's called poking the bear. And the Aggies have lost the last 4 trips to Bryant-Denny Stadium by an average of 32 points a game. If Texas A&M truly is a college football playoff contender, this is the gotta-have-it game. That will not be easy against Young, who had 24 TDs and 2 picks at home last year. Tennessee and Georgia on November the 5th is our number 2 game. Can the Vols make it here with 1 loss or less in the conference? If so, then this SEC East rivalry game will have some real heat, perhaps fitting the ESPN College Game Day requirements. Tennessee did beat Georgia in Kirby Smart's first season in 2016. The Bulldogs have won the last 5 meetings by an average of 28.6 points a game. This could be Hooker's signature game. Number 3 is Arkansas versus Texas A&M on September 24th. This game has been at Jerry World in 7 of the last 8 years, and only one of those games was decided by more than 10 points. It's an old-school Southwest Conference rivalry revived, and the winner of this game will be in the best position to challenge Alabama in the SEC West. Number 4, Florida, Georgia, October 29th, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. It's got huge implications. Either Georgia or Florida has represented the SEC East in Atlanta each of the last 7 seasons. This is Billy Napier's first crack at it. 4 of Florida's last 6 coaches won their first matchup against Georgia. Dan Mullen and Will Muschamp were the misses. And finally, the number 5 game, Alabama at Ole Miss, November 12th. Lane Kiffin was done before the popcorn last season because of a series of bad 4th down calls in Tuscaloosa. Alabama has rolled up 60-plus points in its last 2 visits to Oxford. But it's a tricky road game that comes the week after LSU. Will the Crimson Tide be able to clinch the SEC West here? And the stat that matters, the SEC could become the first conference to have 4 straight Heisman Trophy winners in 2022. Joe Burrow in 19, Devontae Smith in 20, and Bryce Young last year all have won the SEC championship, and Burrow and Smith were named the most outstanding players in the college football playoff championship game. It's a good bet if the Heisman winner does come from the SEC, then that player will be in focus in the championship game. So there's the SEC in a nutshell. So good old MF Michael Fletcher. You heard all the schematics, so your thoughts on the SEC?
Yeah, when you come into the SEC, to be real honest with you, yeah, I think the way that it's broken down is like you said, it's all about two different teams. So obviously Georgia and Alabama is probably going to be the 2 teams that are going to make it at the end. They're going to be the 2 teams that's going to be battling it out for the SEC crown, no doubt about it. And I really believe that it's going to be one of those type of games. I don't know how you're going to break it down or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it is going to be interesting. Obviously, this is Alabama's revenge tour. A lot of people feel like Bama, could have won the national championship, but they did not. Georgia got the monkey off the back. They wanted Bama. They wanted them in the national championship after they lost the SEC, and they were sick and tired of Alabama. They were sick and tired of this Alabama this, Alabama that. They are the national championships. They were on a mission to win that title, and they wanted it. They wanted Bama in the national championship game. They got Alabama in the national championship game. And then the great game planning, and it was incredible game planning by the Georgia Bulldogs, got them the national championship. And that is the ultimate coup for them. They win it for the first time in, I believe it was over 40 years, Anthony? 40 plus years?
Yep, 1980.
Since 1980, Georgia had to live with that doldrum. Not anymore. The Hedges will have a banner flying very soon, in about a week or 2, in Athens as national champions. They will never be able to take that away. For Bama, it's about getting what's rightfully theirs. Rewriting a wrong that happened a year ago where Georgia's going to now try to do something that's unprecedented in their school, win back-to-back titles. Very hard to do because there's a lot of great teams out there this year that is itching to become national champions. Other than Alabama, we'll get into some others that has a legit case for that national championship crown this year. But I do believe Georgia and Alabama will win their respective respective divisions, and that should set them up for the remainder. So nothing more to say, Michael Bullock. I give it to you.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is obviously I got Georgia winning the West and Alabama winning the East. But yeah, like you said, last season, Georgia, like you said, they were all in that sick of Alabama basically in the title picture every year. Alabama winning this, Alabama winning that, and we saw in that national championship game, Georgia was finally proved it, and they proved it big time. While for Alabama, this is about the revenge tour. They felt like the job was not done. The job was not finished. That's why it's going to be interesting to see how they respond from this. So, yeah, so you pretty much touched on everything. So let's move on to the next conference for you.
And for this next conference, I think it's only fair that good old MF Michael Fletcher starts it off because it's his conference, the Big Ten. I saved it just for you, MF, so you could start it off. Big Ten East, of course, you know the teams, Ohio, in no particular order, once again. Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Maryland, Rutgers, Indiana. And in the West, you have Wisconsin, Iowa, Purdue, Minnesota, Nebraska, Illinois, Northwestern. MF, last season, you, Michael Bullock, and the rest of Wolverines Nation got to do something you all haven't done in a very long time, and that is celebrate an outright Big Ten regular season and conference championship in what was, a Cinderella season for the ages. That was until you ran into the eventual national champion, Maine Georgia Bulldogs, in the playoff game.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable. A lot of people were a little bit heartbroken over that. Yeah, it was what it was supposed to be, and it was hard. It was tough, but the thing is that for Michigan, they did something that nobody thought they were gonna do. Everybody was saying that it's Ohio State's division, and they were just gonna run away with it. And Michigan's like, you know what? No, we're still in this. Yeah, we haven't gotten through, but we're gonna get this. We're gonna beat the boogeyman, and we're gonna get what's rightfully ours, the Big Ten title. And if you know Michigan really well, and that's the thing, if you know Michigan really well, there's three things that a coach needs to do if you're coaching in Michigan. Beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten, win the national championship. Check. They did not get the third. And now, more than ever before, this is going to be the test of all tests. Because now you got Ohio State reloaded, number 2 in the nation, easily favored to not only win the conference, but to get to the national championship. And as a matter of fact, one of the favorites to make the college football playoff and maybe win it all. So you got that. You got Michigan State maybe rebuilding. You got Penn State on a rebuild. And where does Michigan fall in all this? Because a lot of people were like, well, all right, fine. You finally did it. You got the monkey off the back. Can you repeat that and do it 2 years in a row? I don't know. We'll wait and see. Cade McNamara will be the starting quarterback for Michigan. I already know that for certainty. Can he rebound? He had a good season. Can he take that next step? Because that's going to be everything. And then offensively, can they take the next step? Because you know that defense of Michigan is going to be stout. They are a top tier defense. They're one of the reasons why they got to where they got. The defense alone got Michigan into a great position to win the conference that they won last year. I think if Cade McNamara delivers in the clutch and everything else, I do believe Michigan has a shot at winning the conference. However, I am not normally, I would say Michigan all the way, but I know Ohio State and I know that mentality. They, whenever, it's one thing to lose the Big Ten, that's one thing, but they lost to Michigan. That is eating them alive right now. And they are, you want to talk about hell bent in beating Michigan this upcoming season on Thanksgiving weekend? Oh no. Trust me. Ohio State has that bulletin board of the Michigan loss, the final score, and the fans running on the field at the big house when Michigan beat Ohio State. Trust me, Ohio State has that etched in their minds, and they know they're going to the horseshoe this year, and they're coming to our house, and we need to do that to Michigan this time around. So, Ohio State wins. They'll win the East. Michigan 2. I'm going to say Michigan State 3, Penn State 4. I'll go Indiana 5, Maryland 6, Rutgers 7. Now West. Normally, I would say Wisconsin or Iowa because those are the sexy picks. Those are the really good ones. There's a team named Nebraska that there might be something special going down in Lincoln. I'm just saying. Now, do I believe it's going to happen? No, but keep an eye on them. They might surprise a few people in that conference. So I'm going to go Wisconsin 1, Iowa 2, very close. That could be neck and neck. I'm going to say Nebraska 3, Minnesota 4, Purdue 5, Northwestern 6, and Illinois in the basement at 7. So that's my predictions. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, like you said, basically, I do have Ohio State winning their division because, look, as special as Michigan's season was, I just don't see how they can win it because Ohio State's got to be seething because they feel like they should be in the Big Ten title game last year, and they have that memory of last year when, for the first time in a while, Michigan beat Ohio State, and they remember when the fans stormed that field in Michigan. So that's going to be on their mind. And then as far as the other division, I got Wisconsin winning that. Iowa, like you said, is going to finish a close second, but don't sleep on Nebraska as well because they could challenge for that division. But we'll wait and see how it goes. So nothing more to say. It's your part.
Yeah. In the East, all right. Michigan shook up the Big Ten last year. The Wolverines finally broke through under Coach Jim Harbaugh for the program's first Big Ten championship since 2004, and that snapped Ohio State's run of 4 straight conference titles. The Buckeyes, however, are the prohibitive favorite to strike back this year, Fourth-year coach Ryan Day brings back a loaded offense that features Heisman Trophy finalist C.J. Stroud, and Ohio State has a favorable schedule with most of the tough games at home. Michigan State and Penn State will stay in the mix in the Big Ten East, but it still comes down to the Buckeyes and Wolverines. What about the Big Ten West? Iowa won the division last year before being dumped 42-3 by the Wolverines at Lucas Oil Stadium in the Big Ten championship game. Wisconsin is expected to bounce back, but the pressure is on veteran quarterback Graham Mertz to make that happen. Iowa, Wisconsin, and Northwestern are 0-8 in the Big Ten championship game since the conference switched to the East and West division setup. All 14 coaches return to the Big Ten, but Nebraska's Scott Frost is on the hottest of hot seats. The Huskers revamped the coaching staff this offseason, and the conference season kicks off this Saturday, gentlemen, when Nebraska and Northwestern meet in Dublin, Ireland. How about that, huh? Will there be another shakeup this season? Let's find out. In the Big Ten East, I have Ohio State winning it. I have Michigan second, Michigan State third, Penn State fourth, Maryland fifth, Rutgers sixth in Indiana in the basement. Ohio State plays most of its tough Big Ten games in the comforts of home this season, with Wisconsin, Iowa, and Michigan all coming to Ohio Stadium, not to mention the non-conference blockbuster with Notre Dame next week. The Buckeyes have won 25 straight conference games at home by an average of almost 31 points a game. Michigan will have a tough test there in the finale. The Wolverines do get Michigan State and Penn State at home, but Harbaugh is 3-4 against those schools in the Big House. That's the game that turns the Spartans season one way or the other. Penn State is 4-5 in Big Ten play in each of the last 2 years. Maryland's coming off a bowl win this past year, but the Terps are 4-21 against the Big Four in the division since joining the Big Ten in 2014. That's the next step. In the West, I have Wisconsin 1, Iowa 2, Purdue 3, Minnesota 4, Nebraska 5, Illinois 6, Northwestern in the basement. Wisconsin is the pick to win the division, but the Badgers are going to earn it. Wisconsin opens Big Ten play at Ohio State on September 24, and it has road games at Michigan State and Iowa. The Hawkeyes play crossover games against Ohio State and Michigan. Will that allow a school such as Purdue or Minnesota to sneak up the standings this year? The Boilermakers are an interesting sleeper, but they have the Badgers and Gophers on the road this season. They lost to both teams at home last year. Nebraska lost 9 games by 9 points or less last season, and Northwestern is trying to bounce back after its own 9-loss season. The Wildcats did win the Big Ten West in 2018 and 2020. Is there more even year magic in store? The opener in Dublin is a huge tone setter for both teams. The storyline, Ohio State and who else? The Big Ten added USC and UCLA from the Pac-12 starting in 2024. A blockbuster realignment move that could lead to further expansion for the soon-to-be 16-team conference. And Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith said those schools can help carry some weight for the Big Ten. Was that an indirect shot at the rest of the competition? I mean, Ohio State is 93-11 in the CFP era, an .894 win percentage. Buckeyes won the conference's only titles in the CFP era in 2014 and BCS era to 02. Ohio State is 7-3 in New Year's Day 6 Bowls, too. 5 other schools in the conference have a winning percentage better than 60% in the CFP era. That's Wisconsin at 745, Iowa 693, Michigan 680, Penn State and Michigan State both 643. They're 6-7 in New Year's Day 6 Bowls, and the Spartans and Wolverines were routed in their lone CFP appearances. That weight is on the big stage, and Ohio State is all but penciled in to get back to the CFP in 2022. Can any of these other schools disrupt that? Top 5 games? Of course, where do you start? You always start with the game. Michigan and Ohio State. Always comes down to it. Wolverines revived the rivalry with a 42-27 victory last season. Buckeyes haven't lost to Michigan at Ohio Stadium since 2000. However, but there is a good chance this is the next top 10, perhaps top 5 showdown in the series. Can Harbaugh erase the heartaches of 2016 and 2018 in the horseshoe? Number 2 big game is Wisconsin and Iowa, November 12th. By the way, Michigan, Ohio State, that's November 26th, Thanksgiving weekend, rivalry week, you know. Wisconsin, Iowa, November 12th. Those Big Ten West rivals, they've traded 3-score wins in each other's houses the last 3 years. And the series moves back to Kinnick Stadium this year. Given the brutal crossover schedule both teams have, this is a gotta-have-it game if you want to make it to Indy. Mertz Spencer Petras will be on the spot at quarterback. Number 3, Ohio State, Penn State on October 29th. And believe it or not, gentlemen, this is not going to be a whiteout game for some odd reason. Perhaps because Ohio State has won the last 5 meetings since the 2016 loss at Happy Valley. Still the toughest road test on the Buckeyes' schedule and part of a thrilling day in the Big Ten East. Which leads to the other big game on October 29th at number 4, Michigan State and Michigan. It's the other half of what will be a thrilling October day. Spartans have won the last 2 in the Paul Bunyan Trophy Series, and Mel Tucker hasn't backed down from the Wolverines at all. Michigan State rallied from a 16-point third-quarter deficit last year, and Harbaugh, who's 3-4 against the Sparties, can't lose another one in the Big House. And number 5 is Wisconsin and Ohio State on September 24. It will no doubt be a big noon kickoff game, and it could be a conference championship preview. Buckeyes have won 8 straight in the series. Badgers haven't won in Columbus since a 24-13 shocker in 2004. And the stat that matters, Ohio State has averaged at least 40 points and 500 yards in each of the last 5 seasons since Ryan Day arrived in Columbus as an assistant coach under Urban Meyer. Last season, Michigan was the only other Big Ten team to average more than 35 points a game at about 38. Penn State is the only other school to have a 40-point offense in the last 5 years with about 41 points a game in 2017. No other Big Ten team has averaged 500 yards a game, and to beat the Buckeyes, you have to keep up as best as you can. It's not going to be easy this year. So with that being said, gentlemen, let's move on to the next conference, and that is the Big 12. And in that, just give me one moment here as I pull it up here. Get our stats here. Okay. Big 12, you know who's in there. Just in case any new viewers are listening or watching. In no particular order, you have Oklahoma, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Texas, Kansas State, Iowa State, West Virginia, TCU, Texas Tech, and Kansas. Michael Bullock, pick me a winner in the Big 12. How do you see this? How do you see the Big 12 playing out this year?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, with the Big 12 this year, I mean, basically, it could be anyone's for the taking here, but you got teams like Oklahoma State who could contend. You also have obviously West Virginia, where they stand right now. I mean, this. Yeah, let me just. Yeah, this should be a good one here. Now, whether the Big 12 is going to be well represented in the college football playoff, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, this is it's a tough one for me to say here. I mean, now who won it last year, Florio? I'm trying to remember.
I think Oklahoma. I remember Baylor won the championship game. Baylor won the championship game. I do remember that. They held off Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State might have. I don't know, but I do know Baylor won the championship game.
Yeah. So I just like what I've seen from. I mean, I got it. To me, it's between Baylor and Oklahoma State. So with that being said, I'm gonna go with Baylor to win it. But if Oklahoma State wins it, I would not be surprised. So that's just how I see it. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah. Baylor became the first school other than Oklahoma or Texas to win the Big 12 championship game since 2003 last year. Will that be a sign of things to come when the Sooners and Longhorns ultimately leave for the SEC? The Bears are also the Big 12 preseason media poll pick to defend that conference championship under rising coach Dave Aranda. It's a tough conference to predict this year. And Oklahoma, of course, underwent massive changes in the offseason. Lincoln Riley left for USC and quarterback Caleb Williams followed. Spencer Rattler transferred to South Carolina. Brent Venables is the new coach in Norman. TCU's Sonny Dykes and Texas Tech's Joey McGuire also joined the coaching ranks. And the Texas Longhorns, 5-7 in Steve Sarkisian's first season in a non-conference matchup against Alabama, is the blockbuster game in the Week 2 schedule on September 10th. Will Texas compete for a Big 12 championship? I'm not sure because you make a great case, Bullock, but for me, my my predictions here. I got Oklahoma winning the Big 12. I got Baylor finishing second. I got Oklahoma State third, Texas fourth, Kansas State five, Iowa State six, West Virginia seven, TCU eight, Texas Tech nine, and of course the basement dweller Kansas. Even though they did win, the NCAA tournament this past April in basketball. But anywho, Oklahoma, risky pick given the coaching change, the quarterback carousel, and Brent Venables being a first-time head coach. Still, the Sooners are 43-6 at home in the CFP era. And Baylor and Oklahoma State both come to Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium this year. Texas has lost 3 or more conferences in 7 of 8 seasons under Mac Brown after Mac Brown left the program. Kansas State is an intriguing sleeper with the addition of Adrian Martinez at quarterback and hire of offensive coordinator Colin Klein, who finished third in the Heisman voting in 2012. Chris Kleeman has 2 8-5 seasons the last 3 years with the Wildcats. Iowa State and Oklahoma are the only 2 schools with winning records in conference play each of the last 4 years. Maybe the Cyclones are being undervalued at touch. The storyline is the Longhorns. What's next for Texas? They went 5-7 in Steve Sarkisian's first year, and that included a 57-56 overtime loss to Kansas. Hoofa. So why is Texas even in consideration for a Big 12 title bid? Consider the 3 teams pegged to finish ahead of Texas in the preseason poll. Texas is 5-4 against Baylor since 2014, but the Longhorns are 3-5 against Oklahoma State and 2-7 against Oklahoma. That's a 10-16 overall record against the true contenders. Still, the offense is going to be good. Bijan Robinson is one of the best players in the FBS, and the fascination around Ohio State transfer quarterback Quinn Ewers is high. The Longhorns also will have a top-notch receiving group around Xavier Worthy. Can Texas stop anybody when it matters? The Longhorns allowed 30 points or more in their 7 losses. And all this coincides with the pending arrival of 5-star quarterback Arch Manning in 2023 and the eventual transition to the SEC. Will Steve Sarkisian create true momentum on the field ahead of those moves? The Week 2 matchup against Alabama will be that next chance to prove it. The top 5 games in the conference, of course, it's Baylor and Oklahoma. These teams met in the 2019 Big 12 Championship, and they are the popular picks to do it again. Dave Aranda opted for a last-second field goal in last year's 27-14 win, a move that didn't sit well with then-coach Lincoln Riley. It's one of two payback games for the Sooners, and Baylor only has 1 victory at Oklahoma in its history. Oklahoma State, and that's on November 5th. Oklahoma State, Baylor on October 1. Rematch of last year's Big 12 title game, an instant classic where the Bears stopped the Cowboys short of the goal line in a 21-16 thriller. Blake Shapen took hold of the starting QB job at Baylor with 180 yards and 3 TDs. It's the first huge swing game on the conference slate. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, November 19th. Bedlam will be in full effect with the Sooners looking for payback. The Cowboys broke a 6-game losing streak to the Sooners last season in a 37-33 nail-biter. Came down to the last drive. Mike Gundy is just 1-7 in Norman as a head coach. Of course, you can't forget about the Red River rivalry. That's on October 8th. This remains the best rivalry in the Big 12, and the stakes are the same. Sooners won 53-45 in 2020 and 55 last season, and this game features basketball-like swings and points and momentum. The Longhorns blew a 28-7 lead in last year's installment. Will Venables win his first Red River rivalry game? And rounding out the slate, Texas-Oklahoma State, October 22nd. Last 5 meetings have been 1-score games, and the Longhorns and Cowboys have each won on the road the last 2 years. Texas season went off the rails after a 32-24 loss to Oklahoma State last year. And the stat that matters is Baylor led the Big 12 with 219.3 rushing yards a game last season, an old-school formula that still works. Dave Aranda and offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes have crafted a no-nonsense offense with that punishing ground attack. But Abram Smith's 1,601 yards and 12 TDs, and Treston Ebner about 800 yards and 2 TDs. But Tay McWilliams could be a breakout star after averaging 10.6 yards a carry in limited action last season. Bears do have 5 seniors across the offensive line, including All-American candidate left tackle Connor Galvin. So that's my story on the Big 12. So MF, Big 12, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting season, no doubt about it. I kind of feel like Oklahoma should bounce back. I got Baylor in second. I think they're going to be basically battling it out for the title. I love Texas. I have a love affair for Texas for a number of years, but I kind of feel like they might be on the downswing. The one team I want to say keep a close eye on, Oklahoma State. The Cowboys, I don't know what it is. Some years they're good, some years they're not so great. It's like up and down. I think they might do something special this season. So we'll wait and see how it plays out. But nothing more to say. So Florida was bad team.
ACC is next, and the Atlantic Division has Clemson, NC State, Wake Forest, Louisville, Florida State, Boston College, Syracuse. The Coastal has Miami, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, and Duke. Will Clemson strike back this year? The Tigers had a run of 6 straight ACC championships snap last season in the year with a 40-point offenses dominated. Pitt averaged 43 and won the conference championship behind the efforts of quarterback Kenny Pickett, who finished third in the Heisman voting. Wake Forest averaged 41.2 points a game and won the Atlantic Division. The conference features an overload of quarterback talent coming into 2022. There were 4 coaching changes, and all of those took place in the Coastal Division. Duke's Mike Elko, Miami's Mario Cristobal, Virginia's Tony Elliott, and Virginia Tech's Brent Pry are the new coaches on the block. Few other ACC coaches could be on the hot seat, including Florida State's Mike Norvell, Georgia Tech's Jeff Collins, and Syracuse's Dino Babers. Last season offered a sense of parity within the conference, but Clemson still won 10 games last year. Tigers are poised to bounce back, but they need the offense to keep up with their ACC counterparts. In the Atlantic, I have Clemson winning it, NC State 2nd, Wake Forest 3rd, Louisville 4, Florida State 5, Boston College 6, Syracuse last. Clemson has the nation's longest home win streak at 34 games, and NC State on October 1 and Miami on November 19 both come to Death Valley at Memorial Stadium. The road to the ACC title still runs through Death Valley. Wolfpack remained the best challenger, and they returned most of their production from last year, including quarterback Devin Leary. It's Dave Doran's best shot for an ACC championship. Wake Forest's spot is tenuous, with Sam Hartman out indefinitely with a non-football medical condition. Louisville, Florida State, and BC are interchangeable in the 4 to 6 spots. Of those 3, the Eagles are the only one with a 500 record over the last 3 years at 18-18. And Syracuse has only won 2 ACC games or less in 5 of Dino Babers' 6 years. In the Coastal, I got Miami winning, with North Carolina 2nd, Pittsburgh 3rd, Virginia 4, Virginia Tech 5, Georgia Tech 6, and the Dukies in the basement. Too soon for Mario Cristobal? Miami has enough talent around quarterback Tyler Van Dyke, and North Carolina and Pitt visit Hard Rock Stadium. The non-conference game at Texas A&M in Week 3, September 17, should be an interesting barometer for the Hurricanes. North Carolina was the chic offensive off-season sleeper last year, and now they're off the radar. Tar Heels are an interesting bounce-back candidate with either Jacoby Criswell or Drake May at quarterback. Pitt has a tough schedule within the division, with road trips to North Carolina on October 29, Virginia on November 12, and Miami on November 26. Panthers have not won at Miami or North Carolina under their coach Pat Narduzzi. Virginia and Virginia Tech are a toss-up with their new coaches, but the Cavaliers have the better record the last 3 years, and Brennan Armstrong is a true answer at quarterback. Georgia Tech's Jeff Collins, 7-18 in ACC play, and Duke opens a new chapter with Elko. Will he keep them as competitive as David Cutcliffe did? The storyline is, what about the U? Hurricanes are 136-90 since joining the ACC in 2004, and they have yet to win a conference championship. Cristobal's arrival has sparked hope that the U can return, but it truly starts with building a team capable of winning that first conference title. Miami is 16-26 against ranked opponents since 2004, third best record among full-time ACC schools. Clemson at 34-22, and Florida State at 20-28 or better. That is the path back, and Van Dyke offered hope by beating back-to-back ranked opponents in Pitt and NC State last season. He had 751 yards, 7 TDs, and 1 pick in those 2 games. The ACC needs Miami to be a challenger to Clemson, and a worthy one at that. Once that happens, then talk about the U coming back and begin in earnest. The top 5 games, number 1, obviously, NC State and Clemson on November 1st. Wolfpack beat Clemson last season in a 27-21 thriller, a game in which Leary passed for 238 yards and 4 TDs. Next step is winning at Memorial Stadium. NC State hasn't won there since Phillip Rivers led a 38-6 blowout on October 24th of 2002. Number 2, Miami and Clemson, November 19th. The Tigers have won the last 3 meetings by a combined score of 136-20. That included a 42-17 smackdown in Death Valley in 2020. This could potentially be the Tigers' 40th straight home win. Remember, the Canes have the home winning streak record at 58 games, which was set from 1985 to 1994. Number 3, North Carolina and Miami on October 8th. This is an early swing game on the Coastal schedule, and the Tar Heels can make a statement here. Mac Brown is 3-0 against the Hurricanes since returning to Chapel Hill, and the last trip to Miami, a 62-26 beatdown in 2020. Number 4, Pitt in Miami, November 26th. Panthers have won the ACC Coastal twice in the last 4 years, but they've lost 4 straight to the Hurricanes in that run. Narduzzi is 1-6 against Miami. This game could decide the division, and the rivalry week spotlight makes it more interesting. And finally, NC State and North Carolina on Black Friday, November 25th. The rivalry's on Black Friday, and it's a crossover game that should be exciting, given last year's 34-30 nail-biter the Wolfpack won in Raleigh. Will this result impact who makes the ACC title game? It's possible, and one of these teams could be a spoiler too. And the quick stat that matters, for all the offensive struggles, Clemson allowed just 15 points a game last season. Tigers did allow 20-plus points to 4 division opponents in Louisville, Florida State, Wake Forest, and NC State. Defensive coordinator Wes Goodwin is the replacement for Brent Venables, and the Tigers returned 3 All-Americans in Brian Bresci, Miles Murphy, and Trenton Simpson. Clemson should be very good on that side of the ball, but the offense must follow. So there isn't much more to say. Bullock has left us for the night, no surprise. So with all that being said, MF, the ACC, 2 surprise teams last year in Pittsburgh and Wake Forest, but the big question is, can Clemson get back on track after what was, by their standards, a down?
It was a disaster. That was a below average season for Clemson. They hold themselves to a very high standard. They always believe that they're going to be a dangerous team. And like you said, I think it's Clemson and Miami this year. I think this will probably be the ACC championship game when it's all said and done. I believe in Mario Cristobal. I really believe he can bring that winning culture back to the U. And that's the one thing that is definitely going to be very interesting to see. The one thing that, if you notice what Mario Cristobal did, he got rid of the turnover chain. You're not going to see the chain this year. So you already know that's a different thing, a different attitude that they're gonna bring. So yes, Jacob the Jeweler, who's a big Miami fan, sorry buddy, but the diamonds, the money, that chain is not coming out this year. Mario Cristobal has already said there is no turnover chain. The chain is basically, that was Manny Diaz's era, and that will remain in Manny Diaz's era. The turnover chain has been officially retired by Mario Cristobal for the U. So you're not going to see the chain this year. So this is going to be a different style, a different attitude. If he brings that same style, of that Oregon style, that's very run and gun, brings it up, look out, Miami could be flying, and that could be really good. But we got to see how it plays out. To me, I think it's Clemson and Miami. Those are the 2 teams I really believe. Obviously, keep an eye on NC State because they had a great run last year. Even North Carolina, keep an eye on them. They've been sneaky good in the last few years. So I think they could also make some noise in the ACC. So, Anthony, next conference. I believe it's Pac-12 now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, MF. That is our last
of the Power 5.
Power 5 conference, and then we'll get into Notre Dame, and then we'll get into the NFL. And just bear with me for a moment as I get my schematics here. All right. Pac-12, and MF will take that for a spin here. No more separate divisions. So it's all one conference now. So let's keep that in mind. In no particular order: Utah, USC, Oregon, UCLA, Oregon State, Washington, Arizona State, Cal, Stanford, Arizona, Colorado. MF, according to a lot of the previews that I've read, Utah and USC are going to be 1 and 2 across most predictions, and with good reason.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Utah, a lot of people are saying, yeah, this team is for real now. They feel like what happened last season was without a doubt a great year. Many people didn't think they were going to get there. I honestly didn't think they were going to get there, and they did, and they got all the way to the Rose Bowl. So yeah, no doubt about it. Now this is going to be one of those looking up type situations. Obviously, you got to watch out for Oregon. You got to watch out for USC because it looks like USC might be turning it around now. We'll see how they play. Um, and the other teams would be like the Stanford, the UCLA's. That would be the two that I would be keeping my eye on. But yeah, Utah and Oregon looks like they could be on the collision course for a rematch for the Big 12 for the Pac-12 title. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. Nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I've got Utah winning it. I got USC second. I got Oregon third. UCLA four. Oregon State five. Washington State six. Washington 7, Arizona State 8, Cal 9, Stanford 10, Arizona 11, and Colorado in the basement. Let me see. All right. Future of the Pac-12 is uncertain after USC and UCLA announced on June 30th they would be leaving the conference for the Big Ten. The Trojans and Bruins will leave a big hole when they do exit in 2024, but in the present, they are among the teams that will try to break the conference's college football playoff drought. Washington was the last Pac-12 team to reach the CFP in 2016, and the conference's 4-8 record in New Year's Day Six Bowls is the worst among the Power 5 conferences. Utah and Oregon are the favorites in the conference again, and they have huge games in Week 1 against SEC opponents. The Utes travel to Florida, and the Ducks play defending national champion Georgia in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game in Atlanta. USC and Washington have new coaches. Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma to join the Trojans, and star quarterback Caleb Williams followed. Washington hired Kalen DeBoer after a 4-8 season in which Jimmy Lake was fired. A few transfer quarterbacks could stand out across the league in 2022. Pac-12 scrap divisions. The new wrinkle will allow the two teams with the highest winning percentage to play in the Pac-12 championship game, so that's a big plus. Utah and USC are going to be 1-2 across most predictions, and with good reason. The Utes and Trojans have each won the Pac-12 South 3 times in the last 7 seasons. And I think Utah and USC are going to be in the championship game. The Oregon State rivalry continues to heat up. The Beavers won the last meeting in Corvallis in 2020, and Jonathan Smith is hoping to build off the program's first winning season since 2013. UCLA is a popular sleeper, and it's go time for Chip Kelly. The schedule is set up for a 4-0 start, and they have Washington, Utah, and USC all at the Rose Bowl. DeBoer had a 12-6 record at Fresno State and could flip the Huskies quicker than expected. The Cougars will build with Jake Dickert, who replaced Nick Rolovich last season, and brought in Incarnate Word transfer Cameron Ward at quarterback. Stanford has an 11-19 record the last 3 years, which is 11th in the conference. Arizona State finished 8-5 last year, but there's pressure on their coach Herm Edwards. Florida transfer Emory Jones and Wyoming transfer Xavier Valladay, who rushed for 1,063 yards on 5.1 yards a carry last year, make up the new backfield, and Arizona is 5-24 the last 3 years. The top storyline, will USC make the CFP? Lincoln Riley went 55-10 and made 3 straight playoff appearances at Oklahoma from 2017 to 2019 before leaving after last season. Star power has followed him to USC. Caleb Williams transferred from Oklahoma. He passed for 1,912 yards, 21 TDs, and 4 picks last year. Travis Dye was Oregon's leading rusher with 1,271 yards and 16 TDs. The topper was Biletnikoff Award winner Jordan Addison, who transferred from Pitt in the spring. The Trojans are loaded at the skill positions, and Riley will be under scrutiny given how he departed Oklahoma. All that has made the Trojans a popular pick to win the Pac-12, but it will not be easy. Trojans have road games at Stanford, which blasted USC 42-28 last season, not to mention Utah and UCLA. The finale against Notre Dame could generate a ton of hype, but the rivals have a long road to get there. Still, USC is a program that went 22-21 the last 4 years. If Riley flips this into a Pac-12 championship team in one season, then that would be more than enough to meet the hype. Top 5 games, USC and Utah. That's the big one. October 15th. Trojans have road games at Stanford and Oregon State before this, but a 6-0 start is not out of the question under Riley. Trojans are 2-3 at Rice-Eccles Stadium since the Utes joined the Pac-12. This could be a future primetime game that sets the tone for the second half of the season. Number 2, Utah and Oregon on November 19th. It's been the marquee game in the Pac-12 for the last few years. They have split 8 meetings in the CFP era, and that includes a pair of Pac-12 championship games. Utah swept a pair of blowouts last season. What will the Ducks' response be? Will this be the first of 2 matchups again? Number 3, of course, the rivalry, USC and UCLA, also on November 19th. The other huge game that day, albeit a future Big Ten clash. Bruins and Trojans have split the last 4 meetings since Chip Kelly arrived at UCLA, and Riley's presence adds a new wrinkle to a classic rivalry that needs a jumpstart. Both teams have not been ranked in this game since 2014. Number 4, the Civil War. Oregon State on Thanksgiving night, November 24th. In-state rivals collide with possible Pac-12 title implications. The Ducks and Beavers have split the last 2 meetings, and this is one of those Thanksgiving appetizers you won't want to miss on rivalry week. And number 5 is Oregon and Washington State, September 24th. It's the Ducks Pac-12 opener, and there is excitement around Ward and Pullman. The Cougars have won 2 of the last home meetings against the Ducks, and this feels like it could be a must-see Pac-12 after dark high-scoring affair. And the stat that matters is Oregon. Oregon is 22-1 at Autzen Stadium since 2018, and Utah is 20-2 at Rice-Eccles Stadium in the same 4-year stretch. Those are distinct home field advantages and a huge reason why the Ducks and Utes each have 3 division titles in the last 4 years. Utah plays USC at home, but the Utes have to go to Autzen Stadium on November 19th. The Ducks do not play the Trojans in the regular season. This could be a separator, especially if the home field advantage holds up. So that's the Pac-12 in a nutshell. So with that, let's get into the final piece of the college football puzzle. Notre Dame, my team. And oh man, of course, this is going to be a defining year for them because, as you know, Brian Kelly, he left. He took his ball and he went to LSU. Marcus Freeman is now the head man in charge. And what else is there to say? I mean, find anyone who can say anything bad about Marcus Freeman. The players were jacked when he was announced as the new head coach. The fans were jacked, the school was jacked, and apparently recruits are jacked. And that's the crazy part about all of this. Brian Kelly was really, really good at winning and restoring the national prominence of the place, and yet Notre Dame couldn't be more ecstatic about the refresh. Maybe bailing for LSU when the team was still in the mix for the CFP had something to do with that. And now everyone around the Notre Dame program appears to be having fun. It's buying early on the stock. Notre Dame isn't supposed to be a place for a first-time head coach to cut his teeth, but that's a testament to just how much of a rock star Freeman has the potential to be. And now comes the hard part. 1, patience. 2, Brian Kelly really was successful, and good luck with replicating what he did on the field. You think it's easy to come up with 5 double-digit win seasons in a row? Lou Holtz didn't do that. No Notre Dame coach ever did, partly because they didn't play double-digit games back in the day. The program got really, really close to massive things under Kelly, but it kept hitting a hard ceiling. But there's no shame in having an Alabama and Clemson problem over the last few years. Now it's up to Freeman to go from being the hothead coaching prospect everyone likes, to the one who can take Notre Dame that one extra step and turn a college football playoff caliber team into a true national title contender. He's young, just 36 years of age, appears to have the right mix of personality and talent to be the exact fit for the new era of college football and all its changes, and the guy can recruit. But again, patience to a point. All the free mania was tempered a wee bit after Oklahoma State roared back from down 21 to win the Fiesta Bowl, and the new guy's first shot to show what he could do. And the welcome to the job present is a trip to his alma mater, Ohio State, to kick things off next Saturday, September 3rd. So after all the light grumbling settles about how he started his era 0-2, then it's on. There are a whole lot of tough games on the schedule, but the Irish might be favored in each of the last 11, with the possible exceptions of the home game against Clemson and road date at USC, and he's supposed to win all of them. It's going to take a little bit for all the recruits to make an impact, and it's going to take a little bit for the first-time head coach to settle into the job, but he'll have until 10 minutes after the Ohio State game, and then it had better be onward to victory the rest of the way. This team is too good, this program is too great, and this head coach is too promising to expect anything less than for everything to keep on humming. And you look at the schedule for Notre Dame, like I said, it starts next Saturday, September 3rd, with the game when they go to Ohio State, which will be which will be the second half of a huge double main event in week 1, along with Oregon and Georgia, which we'll get into next week. September 10th, they're at home against Marshall. September 17th, they're at home against Cal. September 24th, they're at North Carolina. They have a bye on October 1st. October 8th, they go to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas to play BYU. I think that might be the Shamrock Series. October 15th, they host Stanford at Notre Dame Stadium. October 22nd, UNLV comes in. October 29th, they go to the Carrier Dome to play Syracuse. November the 5th, that's the big game at home against Clemson. If it's anything like the game we saw 2 years ago, that's going to be special. November the 12th, they have another big neutral site game. November 12th, they're going to M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore to take on Navy. And then their home finale, Senior Day, November 19th, at home against Boston College. And then they end the year, Thanksgiving weekend, November 26th, with their greatest all-time rival, USC, at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. So as I look at it, I think they're going to lose to Ohio State. I hate to say it, but I think they're going to lose to Ohio State. I think they'll win over Marshall and Cal. Those should be easy wins. Carolina's going to give them fits, but I think I can see them coming out of Carolina. BYU in Vegas, that's going to be another toughie, but I think they can pull that one out. I like them at home against Stanford and UNLV. I definitely like them in Syracuse in the Carrier Dome. Clemson, I'm worried. But then again, with the game being at Notre Dame Stadium, they might do it. We'll see. Navy in Baltimore, that's going to be a trap game. Not sure about that one. Boston College, I like their chances there. SC, especially in the Coliseum, that's not going to be easy. So I think after the Ohio State game, I think they'll win all the games. Like Clemson, I've got doubts about. I might have to pencil that in as a loss, but we'll see. Navy, I think they can get by Navy. I think they can get by BC. The USC game is going to be the make or break. If they lose to USC, I got them going 9-3. If they win at USC, then I got them going 10-2. But I got them winning in excess of 9 to 10 games. So that's how I feel about it. So MF, Notre Dame. Like I said, with the schedule they have, I'm looking at least 9, maybe 10 if they're lucky.
Yeah, I agree with that. I could give you 9 to 10 wins there. I think they got a somewhat of an easy schedule. I do have them losing to Ohio State. I do have them losing to Clemson. I think those are the 2 guaranteed losses, I believe. The SC is the one that's going to be the make or break. But no, I agree with that. 10-2, 9-3. I could definitely see that. So nothing more to say. Floyer, what's yours?
All right, MF, and now we're going to get into the NFL season now. And start with the worst and work our way up to the best. And according to what I read, the worst division was the NFC South. So we will start with the NFC South. You know the teams in that division. In no particular order, the Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, the New Orleans Saints, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So MF, started with you, NFC South. I think we all know who wins that.
I got to go with Tampa. I obviously with Tom Brady coming back, bringing a lot of the guys from the past. I think that's going to be a big thing. As far as second place, I'm going to go with New Orleans. I think the Saints are going to turn it around, and I think they'll have a pretty decent season. Third, I'm going to go with – I'm probably going to say Carolina, even though I'm not really too convinced about that. That would leave Atlanta as the team at the bottom. So I kind of feel like you could flip-flop between Carolina and Atlanta, but Tampa definitely 1. New Orleans is definitely 2. Maybe Atlanta gets 3, and then in Carolina 4. I'll go there. But like I said, that could go either way. So, but the thing is, the top 2, legit, no doubt. So, Floyer, what's yours?
since you have the Saints finishing second, do you have? I mean, is Tampa your only playoff team out of the South, or do you have any other?
Right now, I would probably say Tampa's the only one coming out of the South.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm right
I
there
don't
with
have
you.
no wild card teams.
All right, fair enough. Tampa Bay, yeah, the Buccaneers are contenders as long as Tom Brady, still defying time at age 45, remains the quarterback. Because the reality is, he doesn't just throw the ball, but impacts the fabric of the organization with his aura, his history, his preparation, and somehow still his arm. Bruce Arians' retirement as coach, leaving the reins to defensive coordinator Todd Bowles, could present some hurdles. So could lingering or new injuries to key starters up front when Ryan Jensen are out wide with Chris Godwin. But this club has come together at the right times under Brady, who's still got top 10ish weapons and support at almost every position on the roster. So I got Tampa Bay winning the division. I got New Orleans finishing second. Small disagreement, MF. I'm actually going to go Carolina third because of Baker Mayfield, and Atlanta finishing in the basement. So that's the NFC South. Working our way up. The number 7 division was the NFC North. And in the NFC North, or the NFC Norris, you got the Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, it's the Packers. The Packers are trusting that Aaron Rodgers, at age 38, and in perhaps his final season, will elevate an offense now without star wideout Devontae Adams for yet another NFC title bid. Coach Matt LaFleur's track record is superb in the regular season, and he could lean more on the tandem of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon to win games on the road. But the revamped defense may have just as big of a role in offsetting Adams' loss. Both Devontae Wyatt and Quay Walker should have big roles as rookies, and when healthy and at their peak, Jair Alexander, Darnell Savage, and even Rasul Douglas stay around the ball in the secondary. And I actually have a wild card team coming out of this division, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. They're a perpetual wild card contender, never bad enough to warrant a reset, but never great enough to chase a title. And that trend is poised to continue, at least for this year, with ex-Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell taking over from Mike Zimmer. His quarterback Kirk Cousins is in the same boat as a solid yet unspectacular starter, but his weapons are some of the best in the game between running back Dalvin Cook and wide receiver Justin Jefferson. And the D, post-Zimmer, actually looks more balanced now that Za'Darius Smith and Jordan Hicks have joined Eric Kendricks and Danielle Hunter at linebacker in their new 3-4. So I've got the Green Bay Packers winning the division, Minnesota Vikings second, and as a wild card team, I got the Chicago Bears third, and I got the Detroit Lions, as always, in the basement. So, MF, your thoughts on the NFC Norris?
Agreed. Green Bay wins the division. I got Minnesota second. Yes, the wild card does go to them. I do have Chicago third and Detroit last. So next up.
All right, next, the number 6 division, according to this article, was the AFC South. And in the AFC South, we have the Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Tennessee Titans. MF, let's be realistic. It's as it's always been for the last few years, and this year will be no exception. It's between Indy and Tennessee, but who comes out on top?
I got Tennessee. I got the Tennessee Titans coming out on top. I think if Derrick Henry stays healthy, which I do believe he will, that's going to be a great thing. Ryan Tannehill will definitely have somewhat of a bounce back year. The receiving core is a little bit of a concern. Offensive line is a big concern as well. But I think the defense at the end of the day will be good enough to get to the finish line. So I got Tennessee 1, Indy 2. Indy gets one of the wild card spots for me. Then third, I got to say Houston just barely, and Jacksonville bringing up the rear yet again. So, Florio, what's yours?
Slight disagreement, MF. I actually have Indy winning the division. I got Tennessee second, and they are a wild card team. I got Jacksonville actually in third, and I got Houston in last. Let me find this. All right. When it comes to the AFC South, the Colts are still operating the NFL's hottest quarterback carousel, this time subbing in longtime Falcons star Matt Ryan for Carson Wentz. The swap may not noticeably raise the ceiling for the position, but it should help stabilize the offense for Coach Frank Reich, whose top achievement in Indy is probably just weathering abrupt turmoil. Jonathan Taylor, one of the game's few true workhorse backs, should remain their centerpiece due to a lacking wide receiver core. If the defense, now under Gus Bradley's direction, is as good as it looks on paper, complete with big-name additions like Yannick Ngakoue and Stephon Gilmore, they should be scrappy. And for Tennessee, they're one of the NFL's toughest teams. So consistently physical under Mike Vrabel that even their old school New England Patriots-esque approach that favors running the ball and winning in the defensive trenches is guaranteed to keep them in the playoff picture. No one should ever doubt the freakish Derrick Henry, still vital as their chief ball carrier coming off an injury-riddled year, and Jeffrey Simmons on their D-line could wreak havoc. And this is why I have them finishing second, MF, with all due respect. Their ceiling, however, can be questioned, with quarterback Ryan Tannehill coming off yet another poor playoff outing and now forced to pivot to new targets with number one wideout A.J. Brown traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. Keep that in mind. So Indy 1, Tennessee 2, and Indy wins the division. Tennessee's the wild card. Jacksonville finishes third, and Houston finishes last. Division number 5 is the NFC East. NFC East comes in at number 5, and we'll get into that division. Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, Washington Commanders, as we all know. And I got the Dallas Cowboys winning the division. I got the Philadelphia Eagles as a wild card team. I got the Washington Commanders finishing third, and I got the New York Giants in the basement. The Cowboys, as always, are talented but desperate to get over the hump as contenders, failing to post back-to-back seasons with double-digit wins since 95-96. It's evocative of their quarterback, Dak Prescott, a top 10 passer who's yet to log a serious big-game run. Prescott's still got explosiveness on his side at the skill spots, namely via wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, but other turnover at the position could result in a bigger run game focus, especially if the D remains attracted to the big play thanks to young stars Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs. Coach Mike McCarthy, meanwhile, has the pedigree, but maybe not the in-game strategy to inspire. For Philly, the Eagles are looking to make a quick jump from surprise wildcard contenders to legitimate division challengers after coach Nick Sirianni leaned into quarterback Jalen Hurts' strengths as a runner midway through last season. The ground game could still keep them rolling thanks to a stud line featuring Jordan Mailata, Jason Kelsey, and Lane Johnson, and the D is vastly improved at every level thanks to an offseason haul, including Hassan Reddick and James Bradbury, but their ultimate destination will lie in the hands of Hurts' development or lack thereof as a passer, now that he's got ex-Titan star A.J. Brown out wide alongside Devontae Smith. So I got Dallas winning the East, Philly second and a wild card team, Washington third, Giants fourth. MF, the division that we jokingly call the Joe Buck and Troy Aikman division, how do you see it playing out?
All right. Like you said, Anthony, I'm totally in agreement with you. I got the Dallas Cowboys winning the division. I got the Philadelphia Eagles in second, wild card spot for the Eagles. The Washington Commanders comes in third. Washington Commanders come in dead last. And I believe the New York Giants would come in third. So that would be my 4. So yeah, next division.
And coming in at number 4 was the AFC North, with the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of things to dissect here, MF. Of course, Cincinnati coming out of nowhere to win the AFC Championship last season. Ravens, they're going to be loaded. But the two big stories, the two sad stories, of course, Cleveland, of course, Deshaun Watson, as announced, suspended for 11 games.
Oof.
That's a killer. And of course, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they begin life without Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, and honestly, it is actually a 2-horse race here, guys, and it's going to be between Baltimore and Cincinnati. I got Baltimore winning the division. I got Cincinnati in second, wild card for them. Third, I got the third would probably be Pittsburgh, and Cleveland is dead last. And the thing is that going into it, I think Cleveland would have been a lot more better, but that 11-game suspension it's going to torpedo the season for them. I just don't see them coming anywhere close to being relevant here. So, and with Pittsburgh, I honestly believe that if they could turn their fortunes around, if Kenny Pickett is the starting quarterback. Don't get me wrong, I got a lot of respect for Mitchell Trubisky, but I think Pittsburgh should go with the hot hand. The best quarterback in the preseason for the Steelers has been Kenny Pickett. The minute he goes on the field, I really believe Pittsburgh will really take off. But until then, I just don't really have that much faith in Mitchell Trubisky. Even though Mitchell Trubisky is the day one starter and he will be starting the season, that's just my personal thoughts alone. So Baltimore 1, Cincy 2. Cincy should make the playoffs, and that's it. So Florio, it's yours.
Agree to disagree. I have Cincinnati winning the division. I got Baltimore finishing second with a wild card. I got Pittsburgh third, and I got Cleveland fourth. And here's my sentiments about it. The Bengals are running it back after their inspired Super Bowl bid, except with an improved front for quarterback Joe Burrow, whose only real concern is staying healthy, and fairly distributing the ball between some of the NFL's most explosive weapons, in running back Joe Mixon and receivers Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. The opportunistic defense still has holes at corner, but if Burrow is on his game, Cincinnati won't need to be shutting out opponents. Maybe the bigger curiosity here, besides Burrow and star safety Jesse Bates III, missing lots of practice this summer, is coach Zach Taylor coming off iffy big game play calling. As for Baltimore, the Ravens are not running from Lamar Jackson's tendency to win with his legs. In fact, they're poised to lean deeper into the run-heavy system, built around the electric QB, trading top wide receiver Hollywood Marquise Brown, investing in the trenches and strengthening their defense for a ball control attack. So long as Jackson and at least one of their ball carriers stays upright, they should remain a force on the ground. And the D, with vets healthier and new faces like Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton, adding range to the secondary, should be improved. Jackson's trajectory as a passer, however, could still ultimately decide their fate. So Cincy 1, Baltimore 2 with a wild card, Pittsburgh 3rd, Cleveland 4th. The number 3 division, it's our division, MF, the AFC East. And of course, you know the teams. The Buffalo Bills, my Buffalo Bills, MF's Miami Dolphins, Michael Bullock's New England Patriots, and the New York Jets. This is not even close. With all due respect to the other competitors, it's not even close. It's Buffalo's to lose. Buffalo wins the division, and I'm sorry to say that's the only team I have coming out of the AFC East. If only because this conference is just so damn loaded. I think Miami will give it a hell of a try, but I think they're going to come up just a little short. I could say the same for New England, and of course we all know the Jets are going to be the Jets, of course. But for the Buffalo Bills, the Bills are getting lots of Super Bowl love for good reason, or better yet, one reason mainly. His name is Josh Allen, JA-17, and he's not far off Patrick Mahomes in terms of total package playmaking. Coordinator Brian Daboll's departure looms, but you can't teach Allen's size, rocket arm, and bulldozing legs. The quarterback's top receiving duo of Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, already one of the NFL's best, helps the cause, as does Coach Sean McDermott's loaded defense, which has difference makers at every level, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer on the back end, the returning Tre'Davious White outside, and now Von Miller off the edge. So I got Buffalo winning the division, I got Miami finishing second, I got New England finishing third, and I got the Jets, of course, finishing last as they always do. So that's all there is to say on that. MF, like I said, with all due respect to your Dolphins and Bullock's Patriots and the Jets, of course, let's be realistic. This is Buffalo's division to lose, and Miami, I think they could make a run for the wild card, but because this conference is just too damn loaded, especially that Western division, which will be we'll get into in a little bit. I'm sorry, man. There's just not enough room for Miami. I'm sorry to say.
I kind of feel like this is one of those where it could go. It's going to be really tight. I think Miami definitely will get second. I don't know if they're gonna, because that's the only thing is, where does the West come and how many do they get? I mean, that's going to be the main factor. I think right now, unfortunately, like you said, when you got guys like Tennessee, when you got guys like Indy, when you got guys like, we haven't even gotten to the West yet. That's how dangerous this has been. And the West could get 3, out of their crop So I mean, yeah, there's definitely a legit threat. Buffalo definitely is the favorite, and I think nobody's gonna deny that. Uh, Miami and New England are literally fighting for second place, so it really depends on how it plays out. I will say Miami's looked a lot better in preseason than New England has, so maybe that gives an advantage to the Dolphins. We'll find out really early because remember, Miami and New England starts the season week 1 in Miami.
That's right.
So we're gonna find out very early how the Dolphins and the Patriots are gonna look, and then Miami has an early test against Buffalo week 3 in Miami at the Hard Rock. So we're gonna see how this plays out early on. Where like what type of team we're gonna get, and then for you, Anthony, you got the ultimate test week 1 Thursday night banner night against the Rams at SoFi.
Our
So
game. Our game.
yeah, our game. And the thing is, right out of the gate, we're gonna find out if all the prognosticators, if all this hoopla about the Bills being Super Bowl contenders, we're gonna find out right out of the gate where Buffalo lies,
Exactly.
where they stand. If they play good, even though if they lose but play great, then obviously Buffalo definitely is a contender. If they get blown out and destroyed, that's gonna open the door for everybody in the AFC. Then it's take your pick. But we'll see. We'll see. So Buffalo 1, Miami 2, New England 3, Jets 4.
All right. And obviously, our remaining divisions are the West divisions. And coming in at number 2, it was the NFC West at number 2. So you got the Arizona Cardinals, the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams, the Seattle Seahawks, and the San Francisco 49ers. MF, 2-team race, I think. Rams and 49ers. You can make an argument for Zona, but I think that DeAndre Hopkins suspension is going to loom extra large.
Yeah, it will loom extra large for them, and unfortunately for Seattle, they get lost in the dust in this one because of the fact that defensively they're a shell of the team that they used to be. Offensively, they got no quarterback. I'm sorry, I don't have any faith in their quarterback play. Their running back play maybe might be all right, but they're just a shell of a team. They're on a rebuild. The 49ers, it all depends on Trey Lance. If Lance does good, then the 49ers will be fine. If he struggles and he doesn't play to the level of his up to his potential, they might actually be out of this. Zona definitely they got offensive weapons. Yes, the Hopkins suspension definitely kills, but I kind of feel like they have enough offensive firepower that I actually think they'll end up in second place. But the Rams are the Rams. The reigning defending champions. They should easily get through. And I do have them winning the division. So I got the Rams, Arizona 2. I'm a little concerned about the 49ers. I'm sorry. I just feel like I have to see it to believe it for me. I'm not sold on San Francisco. I know you're going to disagree with me on that, Anthony. You're probably going to have them second, but I'm not sold on the Niners. I'm not. And then the fourth team is Seattle. So that's my 4. And I got no wild card coming out of it either. I don't believe.
Really?
I don't have a wild card coming out of the West. No. Because I'm gonna say it because if I got my 3, it's Minnesota, it's Philly.
You got to have a wild card coming out of this because you only had Tampa Bay in the South. So you got to have a wild card out of this division.
That's right. All right. Then it probably would be Zona. So Zona, yeah, Zona would be the wild card. Would be the third wild card.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Yeah, there is the slight disagreement here. Not at the top. I'm right there with you. Of course, it's the Rams. I got the LA Rams winning the division. I've got San Francisco finishing second and as a wild card team. I have Arizona third. I'm sorry. It's because of the DeAndre Hopkins suspension. That's the killer. But it depends on how they do during that. If they do better than expected, then maybe Zona. But I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. And I do agree with you. Seattle last, absolutely. The Rams are looking to repeat as Super Bowl champions, perhaps by leaning mostly and surprisingly on a defense starring game changers Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and newcomer Bobby Wagner of rivals Seahawks fame. That's because quarterback Matthew Stafford, who went from good to really good, transitioning from the Lions to hotshot coach Sean McVay last year, is battling elbow pain that could linger throughout the season. His weapons, while elite, are also slightly different, with the backfield banged up and Allen Robinson replacing Odell Beckham Jr. as the complement to target machine Cooper Kupp out wide. The 49ers are set to go as far as Trey Lance takes them, with coach Kyle Shanahan set to follow through on plans to turn the quarterback keys over from the serviceable but fragile Jimmy Garoppolo. It's the 2021 first-round pick's time to shine with all his evident athleticism and unpolished passing. Deebo Samuel's presence as the multi-purpose go-to man should help Shanahan keep his steady ground game intact, as should stars like Trent Williams and George Kittle. The defense should also be feisty as long as Nick Bosa is coming off the edge and Fred Warner is patrolling the field. It's all about what unfolds under center. So Rams first, San Fran second with a wild card, Arizona third, Seattle fourth. One division left, and that is the number one division, the AFC West. Denver Broncos, Los Angeles Chargers, Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers, Las Vegas Raiders, and I got the Kansas City Chiefs winning this division. The Chiefs are the modern day equivalent of the Brady Belichick Patriots. As long as Andy Reid is on the sidelines and Patrick Mahomes is under center, they can sleepwalk in the fall and still sniff the Super Bowl. With speedster Tyreek Hill going to the Miami Dolphins via trade, however, the pressure is on number 15 to elevate discount targets like Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster on perhaps feed tight end Travis Kelce to a record degree. That's doubly the case considering they're banking on instant results from rookies like George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie to buoy a defense that's had porous stretches. I got the Los Angeles Chargers finishing second and as a wild card team. The Chargers are the closest thing to an unofficial all-star team. Justin Herbert is already a laser-armed star in the pocket, and now the lineup around him has enviable weapons at every role. A dynamic dual threat in Austin Eckler, a ball magnet in Keenan Allen, a home run hitter Mike Williams, stud blockers Rashawn Slater and Corey Linsley, imposing pass rushers Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, and young ballhawks Derwin James, J.C. Jackson, and Asante Samuel Jr. It speaks volumes that their biggest concern may lie with the untimely aggression of coach Brandon Staley, who at age 38 came within 4 points of a playoff run as a first-timer. The Raiders are doubling down on their belief in quarterback Derek Carr, whose grit is more admirable than his big-game resume. Devontae Adams' arrival via trade from the Packers spells promise alongside running back Josh Jacobs, wide receiver Hunter Renfrow, and quasi-wide receiver tight end Darren Waller. The edge rushing pairing of Chandler Jones and Max Crosby also has elite potential, but the question marks are big for a team with a history of embodying the indulgent corners of its Sin City location. Flashy and enticing, if ultimately regrettable. New coach Josh McDaniels is unproven as a program builder, and Derek Carr's offensive line is iffy to say the least. I have them finishing third, and rounding out the basement reluctantly is the Broncos. They're betting big on a horse who's won it all before, making ex-Seahawks star Russell Wilson the prized new stallion of their stable. The irony for Russ, his escape from run-heavy Seattle after 10 years brought him to a Denver offense best suited for ground and pound ball, starring the rushing tandem of Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. The bigger X factor may be new coach Nathaniel Hackett, whose Packers-marked resume is tough to divorce from Aaron Rodgers. His defense, while featuring young stalwarts, defensive tackle DJ Jones, cornerback Patrick Surtain II, is also reliant on injury-prone stars, outside linebackers Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory. So very tough division to call, but I'm going to say the Kansas City Chiefs. Until somebody beats them, you have to go with Kansas City, like it or not. I got Kansas City winning the division. I got the Chargers finishing second and a wild card team. Raiders finishing third. Broncos finishing fourth. MF, take it home on the best division in the game, the AFC West.
I disagree. The Chargers are winning the division this year. They got all the weapons. They got the defense. They got the right parts. I think Kansas City is going to take a step back. That doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to make the playoffs. I do believe they will. They're not going to be the divisional champions. Chargers, number 1. Kansas City, 2. I'm going to go with the Raiders, 3, but I'm not as convinced. And I got Denver, 4. We're done, Anthony. It's all yours.
All right. And with that, that concludes another regular season of TXN Sports World shows. We want to thank you all so very, very much for tuning in and listening all regular season long. You're not going to see a show like this again until near the end of January and into February, because it's going to be all about football for the rest of this calendar year and into 2023. So thank you all so very much for your support. You are the best fans in the world. We very much appreciate it, as always. Tomorrow night, 11 p.m., MF, Brace Fan 95, he'll have it. Cerebral Smack Talk. Friday Night SmackDown, AEW Rampage. And then Monday, we start a huge week. Clash at the Castle week. NXT Worlds Collide week. AEW All Out week. It starts Monday night with Ridiculously Raw. The Go Home Show for Clash at the Castle. Monday Night Raw, and of course, my Tony's take on Impact Wrestling and NXT Level Up. Wednesday Night Madness. MF will host that. We got NXT 2.0, Go Home Show for Worlds Collide, AEW Dynamite, Go Home Show for All Out. And then next Thursday night, for the first time under the TXN Sports World banner, same show you've known and loved for the last 10 years, it's just under a different banner. TXN Sports World College Football Thursday starts next week. You do not want to miss it. Our top 25 previews, double main event, Oregon versus Georgia, Notre Dame versus Ohio State. Plus we have so many other exciting matchups to get into. All the top 25 games as always. And then of course, the Friday Night SmackDown, or I should say the Cerebral Smack Talk after that, with MF. Go Home Show, Clash of the Castle, Friday Night SmackDown, AEW Rampage. And we got a lot of pay-per-views to cover, but MF and I, we're gonna, get into. I have an idea on how I think we might be able to work it, so we don't do too much of an overload. So, but that's it. So with that, like I said, that concludes the regular season of TXN Sports World. It's all about the football now, starting next week. So, but one final time tonight, we want to send one final goodbye to Len Dawson, who, we paid tribute to at the start of tonight's show. So, once again, to Len Dawson, like I said, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for Len Dawson and everything. So, until tomorrow night, for the Cerebral Smack Talk over on MS Channel Race 395, Anthony Florio here for good old MF, Michael Fletcher. Michael Bullock, and of course, in spirit, Michael Bullock, and of course, the First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk over on the MX Channel Race Fan 95. You've been watching the regular season finale of TXN Sports World right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one. For now, Anthony Florio. So long. Bye, everybody. Bye. And to Len Dawson, once again, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. But most of all, thank you for Len Dawson. Good night, my friends.